All right, hello folks. Welcome to a special strategy video for logical reasoning. My name is Govind Singh. Most of you know me. Today we are discussing your 5-month game plan for logical reasoning, which would include both critical reasoning as well as analytical reasoning. So without wasting any time, let's just dive right into it. Now, all of us are aware that primarily logical reasoning is CLAT is passage based. After 2020, most of the questions are passage based. It's critical reasoning dominant. But in the past couple of years, we have had surprises in form of analytical reasoning puzzles specifically. So that is the primary format. Most of it would be critical reasoning questions based on topics like arguments, assumptions, inferences, conclusions, strengthening, weakening, logical flaws, miscellaneous type of questions. We all are aware. And analytical reasoning questions can have questions from topics like puzzles, blood relations, syllogisms. These are the most frequently asked in various competitive exams, including law entrance exams. And the topics which are less probable, but still it would be recommended that you still cover them, are going to be other topics of analytical reasoning like coding, decoding, direction sense, miscellaneous topics, number series, all of those kind of questions. So that is with respect to the scope of the subject, the syllabus of the subject. Now, as we were discussing, these are the six primary type of questions which you will face in the critical reasoning part of it, which we are focusing on as of now. These are inferences, which we all know are type of conclusions, but conclusions based on the information which we have, based on the evidence which we have, which has to be true only based on the given facts. Assumptions, we all are aware, are unstated hidden premises which connect the other premises to the conclusion, and without the assumption the argument collapses. We're not diving into the concepts in this particular video, but I'm just giving you a very brief gist of it. Then strengthening, weakening is quite self-explanatory. You either strengthen the argument or weaken the argument by giving uh, arguments in favor or against the given proposition. Conclusion is what you're trying to prove, what is the central claim, what is the evidence pointing you towards, what are the premises leading you to, that is conclusion. And analogy and parallel are other miscellaneous topics. Now, how do you exactly go about logical reasoning? We'll also come to the 5-month plan very soon. But talking about the subject in general, how to look at logical reasoning as a subject. First of all, of course, we would be covering the concepts which we just talked about. So you need to have conceptual clarity on all the subjects. If you don't have it, then now is the right time to absolutely start it and go through it as soon as you can, and then come towards practicing questions. Because without conceptual clarity and understanding, you would not be able to gain a lot of marks in the subject. Now, talking about specific approach towards questions, there are some thumb rules which you look at. First of all, you have to decide which approach works better for you. Either is it reading the questions first and then solving the questions, or is it going through the questions and options once and then moving to the passage and skimming through the passage. Every student has a different approach. Most of the students follow the passage first approach. I would say try both of them, see what works better for you. And my general recommendation is, if it's a shorter passage, if it's barely one or two paragraphs, then it makes more sense to read the passage first. But if it's a very long passage, then it makes more sense to go through the 4 or 5 questions and understand what exactly is the demand of the question, so that you can quickly find out the answers when you're reading the passage for the first time. So that is with respect to approaching the questions. Now, talking about approaching the options. Now, ignore the slide for a moment here. When you are looking at options for logical reasoning, you're primarily looking at the answer which is closest to the question which is asked, which is obvious. But apart from that, we are also looking at eliminating the answers which are extreme in nature, which are vague in nature, which are out of the scope of the question, which are completely unrelated to the question, which are adding new information which is not given in the passage. These are the kind of options which are usually trap options, which we usually ignore in answering questions, which definitely increases your accuracy as well. So would keep these points in mind. And now coming to specific topics and talking a little bit more about them. When we're talking about inference questions, the golden rule is that the correct inference has to be necessarily true, not probably true, not possibly true, necessarily true. And again, elimination, too strong, out of the scope, probable but not certain. These are ways you can eliminate questions. Talking of assumptions, assumptions, as we are aware, is an unstated premise. It's hidden, it's implied, but it forms as a foundation of the question. So the simple test in assumptions is looking at negating the particular option. And negation test, I've already explained it through various videos which you can find on the channel. I've explained most of the critical reasoning topics. You can find them in the playlist which is available on the channel. But yeah, talking about assumption, there's a test called negation test where when you negate the assumption, the whole argument collapses. So in this particular chart, which you can see, you go from bottom to top. Negate the option, make the option false. Test the impact of it. Does the argument fall apart? If yes, that is the correct assumption. If no, then eliminate the option. And you try to be aware of some traps like restatements are not assumptions. Sometimes you see that options are restating the same thing given in the passage. So that is usually not the right answer. Too broad are not the right answers. Already stated is also not the right answer. Similarly, in strengthening, weakening, and flaw questions, you try to close the gap between the premise and conclusion. So you don't have to 100% strengthen something or 100% destroy or weaken something. Even slightly weakening or slightly strengthening can also do the job. You just have to ensure that in strengthening questions, it makes the argument or the conclusion more likely, and vice versa for the weakening questions. Now, flaw questions are fairly simple to do. There are around 6, 7 type of flaws, which again I've also taught on the channel. You have generalization, analogy, circular reasoning, correlation, causation, false dichotomy, ad hominem, and multiple others. So go through the concepts, understand the concepts. If you have any doubts, feel free to drop a comment or write an email to me, whichever way works for you. And practice as many questions as you can on all of these topics which we are discussing. Now, this was about various topics and how to approach them. Now, talking about the whole 5 month plan in general. Now that we have just barely 5 months, less than 5 months left for the exam, of course, you would not be supposed to study all those 5 months. Last couple of months would be reserved for more practice and more mocks and more analysis. The first 3 months, I'm assuming you're starting logical reasoning either from scratch or you're not very good at this. This is for those people who are already aware and have practiced enough, have done all the concepts. They just need to hone their weaknesses and plug their loopholes. For people who are starting out or who are not comfortable with the subject, your first step would be understanding your strengths and weaknesses and understanding which topics are causing more trouble so that you can start with them first. So how do you diagnose that? You take the previous year question papers and solve the logical reasoning section, ideally after 2020. So the last 4 or 5 years works fine. Do all the questions in a timed manner. See where do you get stuck, see where do you find yourself comfortable, note that down after analysis. And after that, go one by one to all those concepts, practice questions, maintain an error notebook or a diary, and note down why did you get the question wrong. Was it because of silly mistake? Was it because of misreading the question? Was it because of you did not understand the concept? Was it because it was too complicated? Was it because you were in a time constraint? Was it because the options were too close and you got stuck between two options? Was it because you followed the wrong line of reasoning? There could be multiple reasons, and there could be more than one reasons as well. So note all of those down, because till you don't have clarity on why it went wrong, you cannot correct it, right? Once you have done this exercise, the next few days would go on to solving these type of questions and practicing them in a timed manner, either through topic test or sectional test. And then you move towards practicing AR questions as well. I would say if you're starting out, focus more on critical reasoning first, because that takes lesser time to, I would say, conceptually understand and practice, and then move towards analytical reasoning. Although we are seeing analytical reasoning past couple of years, say, but still the dominance is primarily of critical reasoning. So unless the pattern changes very drastically with respect to the split, we would expect the similar pattern to continue. But that being said, we need to be prepared equally for both. Start with CR once you are comfortable with the subject. That would also give you confidence, because you would start scoring around 10, 15, 17 marks in mocks, and then move towards analytical reasoning and puzzles from the second month probably, and start solving puzzles and other analytical reasoning topics. The next couple of months would go towards more mocks, more practice, more analysis, more working towards your weaknesses, and doing this time and again till you reach a good score in the subject. Now, some important do's and don'ts. Talking about do's: reading the passage twice, topic first, then structure. Now, this is keeping in mind that you're skimming through the passage. You don't have to read the entire passage twice. You have to read it contextually with respect to the questions. Then identifying the conclusions before looking at options. This works when you have enough practice. Starting में ये नहीं हो पाएगा आपसे, but with enough time you will be understanding कि question का answer आपको पहले ही पता चल जाएगा and you would just know the right option. Then negation test for assumption questions, practicing 2020 के बाद वाले CLAT papers and spending prep time on puzzles as well. 10% लिखा है यहाँ पे, but once you are done with CR आप इसको 20-30% पे भी ला सकते हो. Now, don'ts would be bringing outside knowledge into inference questions, mistaking the last line for conclusion, which is often a premise, ignoring puzzles completely. That is a big mistake, which a lot of students did last year as well as last to last year. I advised students to do AR both the years, but people who did were able to score better marks. So, yeah, don't ignore AR by any means. And yeah, in a 10-15 minute video, I cannot really dive a lot deeper into the intricacies of both the subjects, but I hope this gives you a broader idea on how to navigate your next few weeks and months with respect to LR. If you need more clarity on any particular subject or topic or anything in general, feel free to reach out, feel free to drop a comment. I'd be more than happy to answer. These are some things which we discussed. These are high frequency topics which you are seeing on your table and techniques to solve them. You can take a screenshot if you want. You can pause and read it आराम से. टारगेट वुड बी अगर 22 से 26 मार्क का हम सेक्शन लेके चलते हैं एलआर वाला, तो अगर 22 मार्क्स का है तो 18 मार्क्स, इफ 26 मार्क्स का है देन 22 मार्क्स. सो बेसिकली यू शुड नॉट लूज मोर देन 3-4 मार्क्स इन द एलआर सेक्शन. दैट इज व्हाट वी आर ट्राइंग टू से हियर. एंड एग्जाम डे स्ट्रैटेजी आपको मॉक्स के थ्रू पता चलेगी दैट वेयर शुड यू अटेम्प्ट द एलआर सेक्शन, आफ्टर इंग्लिश, बिफोर इंग्लिश, आफ्टर जीके, आफ्टर क्वांट, बिटवीन द एग्जाम, लास्ट सेक्शन होना चाहिए या पहला सेक्शन होना चाहिए एलआर. वो आपको प्रैक्टिस और आइटरेशंस के बाद समझ में आएगा बेस्ड ऑन योर स्ट्रेंथ्स एंड वीकनेसेस. सो फिगर दैट आउट फॉर योरसेल्फ. एंड अगर कोई पैसेज या क्वेश्चन कंफ्यूजिंग लगता है इन द इनिशियल कपल ऑफ मंथ्स, तो अभी के लिए उसको स्किप कर दो. नोट दैट डाउन, आस्क इट टू योर मेंटर. And don't obsess or spend too much time on those questions. I've seen students getting stuck कि सर ये वाले क्वेश्चन आंसर समझ ही नहीं आ रहा, तो आगे ही नहीं बढ़ रहे तैयारी में. तो वो नहीं होना चाहिए. कई बार होता है कि आंसर की में गलत क्वेश्चन आ जाता है, गलत आंसर आ जाता है, तो दैट शुड नॉट रियली ऑफ ट्रैक योर प्रिपरेशन. जस्ट स्टिक टू द प्रोसेस एंड concepts practice. That's the way to go. The more you practice, the better you get. Practice makes a man perfect, also makes a woman perfect, also makes LGBTQ people perfect. You get the point, right? So yeah, इतना ही था आज की टेड टॉक में. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you all in another session, in another video. Till then, take care, bye bye, all the best. Signing off.